Whenever I hear the term localizer, it's an instant red flag. I know that some story is being butchered, and this case is no different because Netflix localizers have rewritten Blue Box, and the English script sees the character complimented for being a feminist instead of being feminine. Now, this isn't going to be surprising to many of you who have heard so much about localizers over the past couple of years. I mean, we're talking about a lot of different situations. Here's just a quick peek. Viz Media, English localizer rewrites dialogue to insert modern slang. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero English localizers rewritten Akira Toriyama's original manga script and insert Zoomer lingo into the classics. Western localizer proudly brags about butchering Sentai Filmworks' English localization of 2.5 dimensional seduction. English localizers furious over Japanese publishers' decision to use AI translations for light novel work, saying they don't care about the works they're ruining, which is just so funny because it's the pot calling the kettle black. I get that there are a few good localizers out there. I'm not saying that all of them are terrible, but a lot of them intentionally butcher these products. They believe that they know better. They know what audiences actually want when they have no freaking clue. And now it seems that the same situation is happening. So, in the latest case of English language localizers overwriting a Japanese creator's original creative vision, Netflix's in house team has edited a bit of dialogue in Blue Box to have someone who was originally complimented for having a feminine perspective instead receive praise for being feminist. What a disgusting change, in my opinion. But it says to this end, with the release of the first season's second half on April 18th, the English language fans discovered a particularly odd change made to a bit of dialogue in the series' 16th episode, Unfair Woman. They're in with preparations for their school's culture festival and find themselves in full swing. Taki's childhood friend Hina can be seen struggling to rehearse her lines for the lead role in Class 1B's upcoming rendition of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. In both the anime and manga, after taking notice of her frustrations, her friend steps in to help, proceeding to recite the forgotten dialogue and admit that while he doesn't particularly care for acting, he was still able to memorize the lines simply by listening to Hina repeat them over and over. Impressed by his skills, she suggests he should have gone out for a role in the class play, only for her friend to promptly decline. Explaining his aversion to the stage, he admits he's no good at a cheesy romance like that, as while he can sympathize with the heroine being struck by misfortune and hardships, he can't abide by her just up and marrying some random prince. So it's very cute, it's very funny. Unfortunately, though, it is very short-lived, because in the original manga, Kyo's reflection is met by the acknowledgement from Hina that's a surprisingly feminine perspective, her further aside of, I thought the love aspect wasn't going to interest you, implying that she was taken aback by his romantic view of the situation. However, in Netflix's English dub script, Hina instead observes that's very feminist, thus implying that the friend's take was based more on gender equality than the concept of romance. This infuriates me so much because, unfortunately, this is the way that people in Hollywood and Western entertainment generally think, that romance isn't okay, romance is old and outdated, but things like gender equality is more of a narrative tool that people want to see, which is ridiculous in my opinion. Look at just the modern Snow White movie that came out a couple of weeks ago. That, unfortunately, was twisted and ruined. The romance wasn't really a big focus anymore. They changed a lot of elements, like the evil queen, and like how Snow White was really a feminist. She was strong and independent and trying to save her kingdom and her people, but it was so sad because the romance was sidelined. Even look at The Little Mermaid, for example. The romance wasn't completed because at the end in the original animated, a big reason why King Triton, Ariel's father, ends up trusting him in humans is because he would have sacrificed himself to defeat Ursula, so Ariel would have been okay. That is true love. That's the power of love. But in the live action, they had her save the day, which is unfortunate, but very standard for modern entertainment at this point, that oh, you can't hint towards romance and things like femininity because those are seen as evil, but things like feminism is seen as good and empowering. And this feminine rewrite is so extremely cringy to me. Now, they haven't issued any sort of comments addressing the line change, which I highly doubt they will, because there's going to be a lot of people who see that and just go, it is what it is. It's one single line. But unfortunately, this is a situation that we've been dealing with for a long time in a lot of series. Localizers feel like they can do whatever the hell they want, and they can change the material to be more politically correct whenever they feel. It is a good decision, which is terrible to see, because then there are amazing products that are being completely altered. And while this might just be one line, who knows what else was actually changed in the grand scheme of things. So if you're a fan of Blue Box, just know that Netflix localizers rewrote the English script to see a character being complimented for being feminist instead of feminine, which in my opinion is absurd. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.